Hello, and thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to talk about something that I found to be remarkable. During COVID, I convinced myself to spend $1,500 for this Pilot Custom Urushi fountain pen. And we'll examine it later in detail. And I was impressed by the size, the beauty of it. I love this color, the vermeil color. I like the top, I like the clip, I like the band that's on it. And I thought, okay, that's a lot of money for a fountain pen, but this is unique and it's worth the investment. Anyone that knows about fountain pens, who sees me writing with this, will know there's a person that put his money where his mouth is, and maybe they would think, gee, he's a great lawyer if he could afford to spend $1,500 for a fountain pen. But the other day, I was surprised. I was looking at something on Temu, the website that handles sales by companies in China, and I saw a clone, an homage, a replica of the same pen, it appeared, for which I had spent $1,500, only this one was $25. I had to buy it in order to find out how good this pen was. And if you follow along, I'll show you. And not only that, I'm going to show you a surprise about how I modified this $25 pen to make it look and act and feel and write much better. So stay with me as we examine these two pens and a couple of other surprises along the way. Start by looking at these pens side by side. As you can see, they are the same size in length. The bottom finials are the same, black caps, gold bands, the same gold band on each. Clips look very much the same. The design of the center band looks the same. I'll show you the difference. From this angle, the top finials look the same, but if we move them around, you can see there is a difference. Very slight. The Custom Urushi if you notice the side here, this is very small raise. And on the Chinese pen, if you can notice, it's just maybe a millimeter or less raised up. But as you can see, both pens have the circle on it. Now here's the difference. Let me show you the center band of the Custom Urushi. So we can get a close-up of that. Put that on here. And let's see if we can bring that up. All right, now, if you notice on this center band, it has little stars. So I put that under here. And it actually has the name of the pen. It says Pilot, made in Japan. It has the stars, and then it says Custom Urushi on it. That is a little dark, but see that band. By comparison, this pen, the Chinese pen, has stars but no language on it. That is, nothing is written. All you see are the stars. However, as it's pretty obvious, from a distance, the two look the same. And from external appearances, we just bring the zoom in a little bit. It's pretty hard to tell one from the other. Same size, clips, bottom, top. Now, what about the rest of the pen? Well, it turns out that, because I want to show you something later on this pen also comes in this, what I consider to be a very beautiful green, and it is the same pen. As you can see, it's the same as, and I'm going to put it next to the Pilot Custom Urushi, same size, it's the same pen, it's this beautiful color green with gold. It has the same circle on the top, same bottom filial. Now, let's talk about the difference when you open the cap. Here is the $1,500 Pilot Custom Urushi. Oops, wrong one. See, even I got confused how close these are. Here is the Pilot Custom Urushi, and you can see it comes with this beautiful, very large nib, probably I'd say a 10. It's bigger than the Mont Blanc 149. It's a beautiful nib, plastic feed, and it writes very well. It has spring in it. And you can see that it's a wet pen. Not a gusher. There's a lot of line variation, as you can see. And it's just a nice pen. It's a right width. But, oh, and also the filling system on this pen is a Pilot large size cartridge, but it fills by pressing this button. Holds a large amount of ink, and it's very pleasurable to use this pen no matter what you're doing. It's just a nice pen. But it's $1,500. Now let's look at this Chinese pen, and I call it a Chinese pen because it has no brand on it. This is totally modest. It doesn't want to tell us anything about it. Now, this is made out of resin, and it's light. This is made out of brass, and the finish, just compare the reds, the finish, though, is remarkably similar. So much so that, as I did before, I have to look at the stars on the cap band to know which one I'm using. So we have the Custom Urushi here, and here is the no brand but beautifully made Chinese pen, and this is to be expected. but not necessarily a problem. This is an unmarked nib, but I know from experience, looking at the shape of the pen, the metal, and the feed, that this is a Jinhao number 6. And this appears to be either a medium or a fine. By the way, let's look at the comparison of the other parts of the pen opened. Again, you're looking at a clone. The feed, obviously, and the nib are different, but the section is the same. The threads are pretty much the same, although I tried one cap on the other, it didn't fit well, but these threads appear to be the same. The barrel is the same, and as we looked at before, the top finial is the same. This is remarkable, and this is resin, this is brass. The weight is, I'm sorry I don't have a scale, the weight is pretty much the same. But look at the difference in the nib. You can see that the Pilot Custom Urushi is a much bigger nib. However, having said that, and this is a gold nib on the Urushi, but I want to point something out, that although we're dealing with a steel nib, this is a very nice steel nib. Yes, I use micro mesh. But this is quiet. And let me just show you something else here. We can move this over. Look at this, how this nib also gets some line variation, depending how hard you press on it. It's wet, and it writes very well. Now, it doesn't look anything nearly as spectacular as this beautiful nib on the Custom Urushi, and it's a shame because otherwise the pens look the same, feel the same, and except for the concept of having a bigger, beautiful gold nib and a beautiful, well-writing steel nib, they would be the same. It's hard to distinguish them. So at this point, you have to ask yourself the question, is this pen worth, ready for this? I'll write it down because you shouldn't believe this price. That's right, $25, including shipping. That's this pen. 25 bucks. And the difference was the nib. But now I want to talk to you about some experimentation. Oh, by the way, I didn't show you this. Let me quickly show you that this uses, out of the factory, normal cartridge converter, and you could put in a cartridge, or you could use this converter, which works very well. It has a decent ink capacity. It's not the short one. And I haven't had any problem with this pen whatsoever. It doesn't skip. It just works very, very well. Now, let's go back and see what could be done with this, because for $25, there's not a lot of hesitation in trying to mod or modify it. So here I have these two beautiful red pens, except for the cap band that you need to get close to see. They look like the same pen. And as we looked at before, here you have the Pilot beautiful nib. Let me put that down. There we go. Okay, there's a Pilot nib. Right. Now this pen I've really modded in many ways. First of all, let's go do a comparison with the nib that it came with and what I did with it. Here is the number 6 nib that came with the pen. And here, next to it, is a Jinhao number 8 that actually fits in. It's amazing, but it fits in. This is a Jinhao number 8 nib on the red pen compared to the number 6 that this pen came with. And I'm sorry for the glare, but you can see the difference here. All right, now let me push the light out, maybe that'll be better to see. All right, here's the two nibs. You have the Jinhao 8 and you have the Jinhao 6 that this pen came with. Now let's just look at the difference here between the number 10 nib that comes with the Custom Urushi. Actually, you're not getting that far off. Yes, this one is pushed in a little bit, but I'll explain why that's important. But otherwise, the size of the nib is pretty much the same. This is steel. Of course, the Jinhao is steel. This is gold. But now let me show you something. Here is the this is the Jinhao number 8 nib on the mystery pen. Bring back the writing again so you can get a better look at that. And this has, watch this, unbelievable flex. Look at that. No railroading, it just, you take the lines and light. And this pen with the Jinhao number 8 nib can really perform. Now, with the, let me do a very quick writing sample. This is on barely tolerable fountain pen paper. It will bleed through, but it's smooth. So, okay, let's put this down. This is the mystery pen from China with a number 8 Jinhao nib. Now let me tell you something else I did with this pen. I don't like cartridge pens at all. I do like the Custom Urushi pen, that cartridge, because it's big, holds a lot of ink, but most of the international cartridges are not suitable. I don't like them. So what did I do? I put some silicone on the bottom here because I don't know how good this seam is. So the silicone comes up to right above the seam, and I just poured the ink in. Now I've been hearing since I started collecting fountain pens that you can't put ink on metal. Well, I tried that a few years ago on Jinhao 159s, those clunky big metal pens, and we've now had 4 years pass, and nothing has happened. No corrosion. Those pens write like any other kind of eyedropper pen. And this pen also works quite well with as an eyedropper. It's just lovely now. So, $25 for the pen, $1.50 for a Jinhao number 8 size nib that I got on AliExpress. I'm using the feed that came with the Jinhao nib, and when I unscrewed this section, and I'll even show you how I did that. Here's a section here, and trying to get my hands totally dirty here. So I unscrew it like this. Take this out. Here's what I consider to be the Jinhao feed. Took that piece out, pulled it out, and that just left the pen. The Jinhao number 8 nib and feed would not fit in this little hole here for this, made for number 6. So I couldn't just take the nib and feed out and try and friction fit the number 8 nib in here. That wouldn't work. So I tried the number 8 nib and the feed that came with it, and that worked. It wrote, and the nib extended out all the way. In fact, looked as big. When I did that, the number 8 nib went from here to about here. And the feed, although thinner, worked. But the problem is I was not getting a good fit inside. It wasn't closed up. And that caused the pen to burp. So every once in a while, the pen would blob out a bunch of ink. Then that was not something that I found acceptable. So I experimented by taking the original number 8 feed and the Jinhao metal nib. I'll show you that. And just pushed it in. And that's why this nib, rather the point, doesn't stick out that much. But it goes up to about here. But it does stop the ink from leaking out. It is a big, wide nib. I really enjoy writing with it. And I guess I have to say I really, really like this pen because of the price. Now, am I sorry that I bought this $1,500 pen and didn't stick with just a $22 pen? Of course not. This is authentic. This is the real deal. If you're collecting pens, you're not just using it. I mean, you're talking about pens. I mean, look, there's a lot of pens here. Let me just give you a quick look. I have pens galore. So, we're not, every kind of pen that you could imagine, as you can see, they're all over the place. So, we're not, let me put this camera back. Okay. So we're not talking about just, do I need a pen for writing? But if I did need just a pen for writing, I'd be very satisfied with this. Again, I have to make sure I get the right one. $25 pen with a modification, making it an eyedrop, and having the Jinhao number 8 pen. this pen also serves its purpose. I'm a trial lawyer, and if my opponent or the judge or somebody on the jury collects pens and I show up with this pen, I'm going to make an impression on them. Just like I could show up with some of the other rail pens that I have here. But if you ever wanted to have the sense and the feeling of this wonderful pen, the Pilot Custom Urushi, put that over there. If you wanted to get that feeling, because they feel the same when they write, quite frankly, and you could do what I did. You can buy the pen for $25, get the Jinhao number 8 nib, and you're not going to be that far off from writing with the $1,500 pen. Yes, it's a number 10 nib. Yes, it's gold. But my experience has been recently, that is in 2024, that the Jinhao nibs are coming out and they're really, really good. The number 8s are, I found, very good. If you need to make them wetter, there are different methods you could use. You could put a piece of metal in there. You could do other things, but in general, they're not even needed. I like to use micro mesh. Micro mesh for me gets rid of all the noise and vibration, and none of these 3 pens make any noise when they write. All of these 3 pens are smooth as could be. You just could not ask for smoother writing. This one is gold. These 2 right here, they're steel. Yet none of them make any noise. All of them are wet. They're all wonderful. So that's the comparison that I would make. One time more. This is the $1,500 pen. This is the modified $25 pen. And here is the $25 pen without any modification. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.